Okay, with that in mind, we're going to go into some basic concepts of what we'll cover today. 8 sections. 8 sections. We have 4 of them that are the aspects of structure. And those 4 aspects of structure are basically characters, plot, theme, genre. Those are the 4 aspects of structure. We all recognize them. But we also know there's a little overlap. For example, if something happens in the character's growth, well, that doles out over time. That's sort of part of the plot because it's sequential. If the character has a moral dilemma they're dealing with, well, that has a touch on theme. And of course, whatever happens in theme is going to affect your genre, and so on. So they're all really interrelated, but we see that there are places, sort of like places in the pond where dramatic things happen, where pebbles are dropped, and those areas from which the ripples flow, we can identify as character, plot, theme, genre, those 4 aspects of structure. So that's looking at the story. And to see them, you have to look at the story analytically. You're not going to look at it like an audience or a reader. To see those, you're not going to sit down and say, oh, here's this character, not while you're watching it or reading it. Oh, and I see what the genre is doing now, you know. If the audience or reader has a chance to sit down and become objective enough about your work to recognize when there's an element of genre or theme or plot going on, you're already losing the battle. You have to keep them involved enough that they don't have time to think about how it's built. They just feel it's happening and they're part of it. Okay, and if you can do that, you've got them. Okay, regardless of what the structure does. But afterwards, they're going to discuss it as they come out. Well, what did you like about the movie? Oh, in that scene where he did this, this, and this, they're talking about plot. Oh, I really like Darth Maul. He was the best in the whole thing. You know, instead of Anakin Skywalker, you know, we've got Darth Maul. He's living. Anakin Skywalker is a stick figure, you know. And so in the episode 1, so you look at that and you say that's exciting about that character. And you're identifying a character, but you're not talking about character in the studying sense, the intellectual sense. You're coming out of the theater and talking about, oh, I like this guy, I enjoyed that thing that happened, oh, that was an interesting point they made about life in this scene, it really moved me, that's the thing, you know, and things like that. So that's when the audience or reader will start considering it, is when it's all done, when it's all over. As an author, often the problem you have is that you're looking at it as a done deal. You know your story so well that you forget that the audience doesn't know anything about it yet. And you dole it out over time, and you lose perspective of how it's going to feel for them as you let out pieces of your story, because there's both what it means when it's done and also what it feels like getting to that understanding. You can take everything in the story and dole it out many different ways, but how you dole it out will affect the way they feel about the story experience. When it's all done, they'll put it all together and tell you what they think about the story itself. Okay, so both of these have to be considered, and you often lose track of the audience's flow through the story when you're worried about making sure all the pieces fit in the mosaic. Okay, you've got those 2 different views, the spatial view and the temporal view.